Your brother and your brother's administration gave us Barack Obama because it was such a disaster those last 3 months that Abraham Lincoln couldn't have been elected.
You know what? As it relates to my brother, there's one thing I know for sure. He kept us safe. I don't know if you remember, Donald.
Wow. That was Governor Jeb Bush getting a big round of applause for defending his brother. Joining me now, two former Bush staffers with their take on the second GOP debate. Mark Thiessen is a Fox News contributor and the former chief speechwriter for President George W. Bush, and Dana Perino, who's co-host of The Five and former White House press secretary under President Bush. Great to see you both. How about that moment, Dana? George W. Bush getting the biggest applause line of the night. Yeah, that was my first reaction, is that the person that actually got the most applause isn't even there. And he also is he's like the elephant in the room as well, because they all sort of tiptoe around, especially Jeb. I mean, he's in a tough position, right? He knows that his name is both a blessing and a curse. And in a lot of ways, he's got to figure out how to make himself called Jeb, and so he has to figure out a way to walk around that. But he defended his brother tonight, and what I love about it is that the audience actually reacts, and it was genuine and sustained. And spontaneous. Now, I may have misspoken, Mark, because really the biggest applause line of the night was the one we played up at the top of the show, where Carly Fiorina defended her face.
It was up there.
And the crowd went wild. Your views on the winners and losers?
Well, I think Carly Fiorina was a huge winner. I mean, she had so many great moments, it's hard to choose which one. But I mean, the answer on her face, and when Trump tried to go for the, well, you're very beautiful, just the look on her face, the unspoken moment of the look on her face in that split screen was just cutting. And I think she had a great moment on foreign policy. I mean, one of the reasons why she is such a threat to Donald Trump is because number one, this is a year of outsiders, and she is an outsider. But she also knows foreign policy. People don't realize this, but she was the chairman of the CIA's External Advisory Board with a top secret secure compartmentalized clearance. So she knows foreign policy inside out, and she schooled Donald Trump on foreign policy. Absolutely schooled him. You know, schooled. Okay, I thought you said something different. My IFBs. It's been that kind of night. The thing about the face exchange and her stoic look at the end, you tell me, Dana, but it was almost as if, you know, when he tried to compliment her beauty, he didn't get it. She and women weren't ticked off because he said she was unattractive. They were ticked off because he was mentioning her appearance. And she doesn't want to be told she's beautiful. She doesn't want him commenting on her appearance, period. And she also doesn't want him lying about what he was talking about. And this is, I truly believe this, and all men are going to have a hard time trying to compete against Carly Fiorina or any woman in an election, because women have the ability to give the look, right? So she didn't have to say anything. The reason she got a sustained applause and laughter is because she just went, It was like strength, 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 strength. And if you look at what Frank Luntz said in the focus group, that's what people were reacting to. It's the first time we've ever seen Donald Trump back down, that he did not try to have the last. But he was right to. I thought that he was right to take a pass. He tried to say something, and then he realized the crowd was not with him. Okay, let's talk about Marco Rubio, who it turns out, you know, is another one of the winners tonight, according to most. This exchange in particular on the military making headlines. Listen.
We have zero responsibility, because let's remember what the president said. He said the attack that he was going to conduct was going to be a pinprick. Well, the United States military was not built to conduct pinprick attacks. If the United States military is going to be engaged by a commander-in-chief, it should only be engaged in an endeavor to win. And we are not going to authorize use of force if you're not putting men and women in a position where they can win. And quite frankly, people don't trust this president as commander-in-chief because of that.
What do you make of it? What I loved about it is that he was expressing his worldview. He said, this is, as commander-in-chief, this is how I would approach major problems around the world. He also knows his audience. The audience there at the Reagan Library would have liked that, because that is exactly what Ronald Reagan tried to set in motion, that you cannot set up our military for failure. If they're going to go in, they're going to fight, and they're going to win, and they will have all the resources that they need to do it. Mark, who do you think were the losers in tonight's debate?
I think there were a couple of losers. I think John Kasich was a loser. I think he spent something like 3 segments explaining why he wouldn't undo the Iran deal, which is not exactly a path to the GOP nomination. I think I love Dr. Ben Carson, and I thought he had some good moments tonight. I think the fact that he had to spend so much time explaining why he wouldn't have gone into Afghanistan after 9/11 was a bad moment for him. I think there are a lot of people who might disagree over whether we should have gone into Iraq after 9/11, but everybody thinks we should have gone into Afghanistan. So it made him seem unready to be commander-in-chief.
What did you think of the of our friends over at CNN, Dana? I'll ask you. And the moderation.
Look, I have to say at the end of the debate, if I had to choose a winner, I would say Fox News was the winner. And I say that from not just because I work here, but because as an observer of media and have an appreciation for debates, that it was way too long. It seemed disorganized. They're talking over each other. Plus, I would have liked to have seen a lot more from Dana Bash. She was asked to be there for a reason, and I feel like she kind of got the short end of the stick.
She was missing in action. What do you think, Mark, about the moderation?
Yeah, I think it got out of control, and I think there were some candidates who were jumping in and getting more time, and others who weren't, and I think it was disorganized. But on the other hand, there was a freewheeling nature to it, which was pretty good. I think people got to mix it up a little bit, which wasn't bad, and we saw that in some of the exchanges between Trump and Fiorina.
For me, it was eye-opening because we always think we want more time, and as it went on and on and on, even I was like, I'm done. And my favorite tweet came from Andy Levy, who wrote right towards the end. It was right as it ended. Wow, 3 hours and they haven't even gotten to the editing and cinematography categories.
I suggested that they have a 50-yard dash at the end to the bathroom.
They probably did. Great to see you both.
Thanks, Megan.
Well, Frank Luntz is back with us right after this break with his focus group, and we'll get their votes on some of the big winners tonight. Plus, Joe Trippi and Ann Coulter join us with presidential code names of their own, the reference to bootlicking, and the always hot issue of immigration.
Where do you stand on the issue of birthright citizenship?
Well, I hate to say it, but Donald Trump has a bit of a point here.